professional attention. "I'm really sorry," he said, when they reached the steps leading up to her house, "but I have to go to work." Her expression suggested he must be mad. Or joking. "I'm a reporter," he explained. "The fire we saw. It's something my editor will expect me to cover." "Well then, that's that," she said, looking more confused than angry. "You're a great dancer," he told her. She shook her head and started up the steps. He walked back down to Bellevue Station and then eastward along the side of the River Spree. On reaching the Lutherbrücke, he could see the Reichstag in the distance, still spurting flames like a torch held up to the sky. A Nazi one, he assumed. They did love their torches, and who else would this spasm of pyromania serve? The communists would be blamed, the dogs let loose. He entered the forested Tiergarten. There were still patches of snow on the ground from Saturday's fall, and it felt decidedly chilly among the dark trees. He thought of Henny, who might already be warm in bed, and allowed himself a rueful smile. There were other people about, and Russell judged it wiser to take the smaller paths than the better-lit roads. Every now and then a flicker of flame would show through the trees, and he would adjust his course accordingly. He sensed, rather than saw, others moving in a similar direction, all drawn by the fire and silenced by what it might mean. He was still in the trees when he made out the cordon of men on the open ground ahead, brown shirts mostly, with a smattering of regular police, confronting a motley crowd of the curious, some clearly out for a night on the town, others still on their way home from work. Many of the park's unofficial residents, most of them homeless and unemployed, were also on hand, enjoying the free entertainment. Some were holding their palms up to the burning building 300 metres away, making the most of the complimentary warmth. Russell approached the brightest-looking storm-trooper he could see. Spoilt for choice was not the phrase, and pulled out his press card. The man barely glanced at it. "I can't let anyone through," he said, with surprising civility. "Follow the perimeter round to Budapester-Strasse. That's where the command post is." Russell thanked him. You never knew when an SA friend might prove handy, and followed the instruction, taking the chance to weigh up his fellow spectators as he walked. Most of them looked like they were attending a fireworks display, faces reflecting the glow, mouths hanging half open, uttering oohs and ahs when something noisily cracked in the blazing Reichstag building. There didn't seem many fire engines on hand, but 3 more came racing up Budapester-Strasse as he approached the SA command post. They were followed by 3 black Mercedes saloons, each of them flying the Nazi flag. Germany's new Chancellor stepped out of the first, the Nazi propaganda chief out of the second. The third was either just for show, or President Hindenburg had fallen asleep. Hitler and Goebbels strode through the checkpoint and on towards the Reichstag, presumably keen to inspect the job their hired hand had done. Hitler looked in a rage, either feigned or real, neither of which was unusual. Goebbels limped along in his wake, looking faintly amused, which also seemed par for the course. Goering was now visible in the distance, wagging a fat finger in some unfortunate's face. "The gang's all here," Russell murmured to himself. And he did mean gang. Several of the men around the command post were journalists, Russell recognized, and none were receiving permission to breach the cordon. He talked to those he knew and then retraced his steps around the perimeter, listening in on unguarded conversations and asking the occasional question. There were few who didn't have their suspicions, but none who had any evidence. Back among the journalists, he heard that one communist had already been arrested, and that others were likely to follow. All 300,000 members of the German Communist Party, if Hitler had his wish. What now? Russell wondered, lighting up a Da Capo cigarette. They were an indulgence, but he couldn't bring himself to smoke one of the cheaper brands the SA manufactured as a profitable sideline for their rank and file. He would cut down his intake instead, save the money that way.